You ever see something so awkward, so painfully overhyped, so cosmically humiliating that your whole skeleton just kind of folds in on itself? Yeah, that was Meghan Markle this week. And no, she didn't get dragged by Piers Morgan or roasted by some shady royal biographer or even booed at a polo match. This time, she got obliterated by Live with Kelly and Mark, like freaking Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos, the two nicest brunch-smiling, ad-read-doing, houseplant-loving people on daytime TV, accidentally nuked the Duchess of Sussex. 1 minute, Meghan's out here soft-launching her new podcast again, soul-healing, lavender-infused, probably edited by a monk in Malibu. And the next minute, that whole woke Oprah rebrand she's chasing gets fed straight into a daytime wood chipper. I was watching with Cartman and Butters. Huge mistake. Cartman nearly spit out his cereal and yelled something like, "She's lost the plot, bro. That thing's toastier than Prince Andrew's press kit." And Butters, dude was full-on sobbing. He actually thought the podcast was going to be about hope and jam and hugs or something. And then through the tears, he was like, "Why does it smell like failure?" And I just sat there like, yeah, this wasn't just a takedown. It was a daytime drive-by. And the wildest part, Meghan didn't even see it coming. So here's the thing. This podcast, it wasn't just supposed to be content. It was supposed to be the comeback. Like Meghan's entire redemption arc, filtered through a ring light and a $4,000 microphone. She was going to reclaim her voice, reconnect with the public, probably cry softly about her truth while sipping oat milk from a hand-thrown mug named Gratitude. Everything about it screamed personal rebrand, from the minimalist cover art that looked like a Goop brochure to the intro music that sounded like a sad violin made out of pressed sage. She talked about authenticity and empowering women and living out loud, except somehow it all felt like she was reading a Hallmark card inside a Whole Foods bathroom. Like seriously, it was all so calculated. You could practically hear her publicist breathing into a paper bag during the recording. And then there was this weird tension, like she wanted to sound super relatable, but also like the queen of emotional depth. So every sentence came out like, I just feel like, as a woman living in the world during this time, we have to pause. Dude, what? Pause what? Even Cartman asked if she was buffering. And the worst part, no one was allowed to say it was boring. Because if you did, suddenly you were the problem. You were anti-women or anti-growth or anti-organic jam-based trauma recovery. But here's the reality. She made a podcast about herself for people who were already tired of hearing about her. And then she wrapped it in empowerment buzzwords and thought we wouldn't notice. Spoiler alert, we noticed. So, fast forward to the big reveal. Meghan's latest podcast episode drops. She's expecting praise, awards, probably a statue of herself holding a mic wrapped in empathy. And then, bam, out of nowhere, Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos just casually burn it to the ground on live television. Like no warning, no soft intro, just straight up, smiling while swinging the wrecking ball. Kelly's sitting there all chipper like, "So, Meghan Markle's podcast? Yeah, I thought the last episode was the final one, but I guess this is the final. Then Mark, who's usually like the human version of a warm bath, just laughs and goes, "It's like a sequel nobody asked for, but with more whispering and fewer thoughts." Dude, daytime, assassins. They didn't just throw shade, they built an entire solar eclipse and dropped it on her face. I was watching in the living room and literally paused my toaster waffle mid-bite. Even Cartman stopped breathing for like 4 seconds. And that never happens unless he's choking on cheese. Meghan must have been watching too, probably mid-yoga, trying to align her third chakra, because apparently the second that clip aired, her whole team went into code red meltdown. One of the tabloids said she gasped so hard she almost dropped her healing crystal. Her PR assistant allegedly started texting people like, "Is this a hit job? Is this sabotage? Do we sue Live with Kelly?" Like, no, you guys, that's just what it looks like when people tell the truth, without a lighting crew and a Spotify check. But the best part? It wasn't even mean. It was true. They basically said what everyone's been thinking since episode 1, that Meghan's podcast sounds like a TED Talk filtered through a yoga mat and somehow manages to be about everything and nothing at the same time. And they didn't yell. They didn't throw insults. They just smiled through it, which somehow made it so much worse. It was like watching a pastel-colored guillotine. And the second they dropped the word cringe, oh man, that's when the internet exploded. So, Meghan sees the segment, and according to people inside Archwell, she freaked out like someone had just canceled Lavender. She apparently yelled something like, "Get me Oprah, get me Ellen, get me anyone who still likes me on camera," which honestly might be a shorter list these days. Her team scrambled into crisis mode. There were emergency PR calls, frantic Zoom meetings, and someone tried to pitch a podcast pivot called Authenticity After Adversity. Like, bro, no. Cartman joked they were probably in a bunker somewhere throwing mood boards at a wall. And honestly, he might have been right. They even tried contacting the producers of Live with Kelly to ask if it was meant to be a misunderstanding, which is kind of like asking a firing squad if maybe it was a prank. Meanwhile, the internet was on fire. Clips of Kelly calling the podcast cringe were everywhere. TikToks, memes, remixes. Someone made an auto-tuned version where Kelly says cringe to a beat drop. I'm not kidding. Meghan had wanted a media moment. Well, she got one. Just not the one that ends in a profile piece. More like the one that ends in retail therapy and a burner Instagram account. After that, total freefall. Podcast reviews tanked to 1-star territory across every platform. Spotify users were writing stuff like, "Sounds like my life coach got trapped inside a diffuser," and "I feel spiritually mugged." Even Meghan's usual media allies? Silent. No tweets, no press releases, no emotional reposts of the episode link. Oprah? Quiet. Serena? MIA. Ellen? Probably hiding under a table in Calabasas. Like, imagine launching your new identity and even your friends are like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna let this one marinate." And the brands? They vanish faster than Prince Harry at a family reunion. Netflix reportedly shelved her lifestyle docuseries. One executive was overheard saying, "We already have one, Gwyneth. We don't need another one with worse timing." Her team floated some rebrand ideas, stuff like Meghan Unfiltered or Tea and Truth, but none of it stuck. Because when your whole brand is being authentic and everyone thinks you're acting, well, that's kind of a problem. Here's the sad part. This podcast wasn't supposed to be a disaster. It was supposed to be her reset button, her second chance, her look at me now, I'm still relatable moment. Instead, it just exposed the whole illusion. Because when you spend millions trying to sound just like us, you end up sounding like a personality built in a podcast lab. 1 teaspoon sincerity, 3 tablespoons of trauma branding. Stir until emotionally vague. And when even Kelly Ripa, the woman who smiles through toothpaste ads, is the one calling your delivery cringe, yeah, that's not a good sign. By the end of the week, Meghan wasn't just mocked, she was ignored. And in Hollywood, that's worse. No deals, no backup, no momentum. It's like her whole media strategy went from "I am woman, hear me roar" to "I am content, hear me whisper," then unsubscribe. Honestly, I kind of felt bad. Not because she didn't try, but because she tried so hard and still managed to make it all about herself. And now, her podcast is basically a cautionary tale. Not about failure, but about what happens when you believe your own press, and no one else does. So yeah, Meghan Markle wanted to reclaim her voice. But all she reclaimed was the title of most publicly roasted Duchess since 2020. If you laughed, cringed, or had to pause this video to scream into a pillow, go ahead and hit that like button. Drop a comment with your favorite "what were they thinking" moment, and subscribe to Chatter Fuse, where we serve the truth straight up. No filters, no fluff, and definitely no trauma-infused jam, because sometime the mic drop drops you.